My knob's bigger than Heathrow Airport. No, it's not. It's tiny. I've seen it. One of the perhaps most revered pieces of literature from the second half of the 20th century. Hopefully, you all know what that's from. That is from Bachelor Boys by Rick Mayall, Ben Elton, Lisa May. And that's what I talk about, amongst many other things. Not John Noakes' is genitalia. That doesn't get talked about very much at all. In fact, I'm not even sure if it got mentioned when we filmed this at the Gulbenkian Theatre. This was the Linda Smith lecture, which I did right in the middle of doing my 100 bookshop tour. And I put together, like in the previous month while I was going off and talking about my book, The Importance of Being Interested, I was kind of, going, oh, that'd be a good thing to talk about. And maybe at one point, the whole, I suppose, lecture was going to be, it was going to be about the way that the culture wars manipulate comedy and all of that kind of stuff. And then I thought that might end up being quite negative and just quite grr. So instead I decided to predominantly do it about the joy of doing stand-up comedy and its possibilities and the connections you can make with it and all of those other things. And generally, I suppose my intention was ultimately to create a love letter to the possibilities of comedy. Of course, what happened was that I think on the night, there's about 50 pages of notes. There's about 40 postcards with notes on them. Then there's some other little bits and pieces with notes on. Then Oliver Double, who runs the fantastic comedy course at the University of Kent and who is one of the minds behind the Linda Smith lecture, he brought along fantastic rare recordings as well of alternative comedy and some of his books. So what happened was I imagined that it might be, if I was lucky, the whole thing would be an hour, but I was worried it would underrun. So at about 65, 70 minutes, we called the first interval. And I didn't do most of the show that I had in my head, but I did some kind of show. And depending on which one you've chosen to watch at this particular moment, you're either going to see the 70-minute version, which has cut down some of the hoopla and tangents, or you may, just for the taking the real risk of watching the full length. It could have gone on for much longer. Basically, eventually, I only stopped because I realised that one, out of courtesy to the audience and also the people who work at the Gulbenkian Theatre. I'll also mention the fact that there is at the beginning we had a little bit of sound difficulty, which I'd not kind of realised about. So the sound sometimes might seem slightly strange for about the first 15 minutes, somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. It's not terrible, but then you'll find after that the sound gets much, much better. But thank you very much to Chris from Go Faster Stripe and to Trent and to Oliver and everyone else, Warren Lakin as well, who used to be my live booking agent as well, and was partner of Linda Smith. And of course, thank you for all that wonderful work from Linda Smith. Anyway, here's my Linda Smith lecture, the shorter version, the longer version. Maybe you're going to end up watching both. I don't know what kind of completist you are. Have a lovely day.